Dominate your listings with these listing hacks. So in reality, we need to understand how to get these listings, how to talk to people. But the biggest thing that we need to understand is that we need to build rapport with people. So we're going to talk about getting the listings, talking to the listings, talking about getting appointments, but it's really all about, it's always a numbers game. It's always about the relationships that we have. It's about communicating with the people that we know. So we need, before we even jump into this, we need to have that basic understanding that we need to be in communication with lots and lots and lots of people. If we're not going to win the real estate game. And so we have to make sure that we are talking to people, because we talk about, there's really low inventory and there's not a lot of people selling. But the reality is, look at your MLS. There are houses that come on the market every single day. Even if it's slow, there are still houses that come on the market every day. So I want to make sure you're getting your fair share of that. And this is part of how we're going to do it. So, a lot of you guys are by the beach, so oysters. And there's a saying that is like, not every oyster has a pearl in it. But does that mean that oysters don't make pearls? Of course not. Oysters still make pearls. It's our job to find them. So we just need to keep shucking. It's the next one. We move on to the next. So when we have a client, I just recently was talking to an agent about this, and she was telling me, I have this person who wants to list their house, but they're being really aggressive, and I just don't know if I want to work with them or if they're the best fit or whatever. And I was saying, keep working with them, keep helping them, but keep moving. Find somebody else. You need 5, 6, 7, 10 of these people to get to a closing. So you don't want to rely on this one oyster that you're hoping makes a pearl. You want to move forward and get to the next 10, 12, 20 people who are much more likely to produce pearls for you. So keep that in mind as we go through today and as we're talking. I always tell you that I want this to be like a brainstorming session for you. I want you to come out of this with some actionable step, or your mind just like thinking through what can you do and how are you going to win? Let's talk about where we're going today. We're going to talk about setting yourself up for success, getting that appointment, how to command your listing. So we're going to jump into KW Command. Hopefully you have KW ready, open and ready. And hopefully for some of you, I know some of you who have been on with me for a long time, you better already have your listing presentation created. If you don't, today's the day. We're going to talk about how to win, what's important now, and then of course at the end, stay till the end with me and I'll give you a bonus. Hey guys, it's Brittany. I'm a real estate agent, coach, and investor, and I'm here to make real estate easy for you. And every Monday at 11:30 a.m. Pacific Standard Time, I do just that. I bring you a weekly workshop where you can come live, ask your questions. We do hands-on training that are designed to help you move your business forward. I am a productivity coach, and that's exactly what I try to do. I help get you into production. I want to make sure you're getting the best value out of this, so join me every Monday where you can catch us live. So right now, let's jump into this week's topic. In light of that conversation, we're just finding the pearls. Who is selling? It's our job right now to figure out who is selling. Who is it that we're trying to target? Because the reality is, in a seller's market and in this market that we're in general, there's not a lot of people who are selling because they have a 2% interest rate, 3% interest rate, and they don't want a 7% interest rate. Interest rates are starting to come down, which is great news for some of our buyers, but it's still not enough to make those people with 3% interest rates sell. So we need to figure out who is selling, because in every single market, people are buying and people are selling. So it's our job to figure out who that is. So of course, finding the seller is your first job. But in this market, that's easier said than done, right? So we have to figure out who is it that is selling. They're selling because they have to. And we want to think about the 4 Ds. We've been talking about this a lot. Death, divorce, diamonds, and diapers. We need to figure out who are the people who are passing on, right sizing, doing their thing where they're not needing their house anymore. Divorce happens in every economy, and specifically in the harder economies, divorce happens more often. And so people are getting divorced, and that could potentially lead you to more deals moving forward. Diamonds, people are getting married. In every economy, people get married, they start living together, they move in together, they buy new houses together. And diapers, people are having babies in every economy. Nothing stops them. In fact, it's the same kind of thing. In COVID, we saw a baby boom. So people are having babies in every market. And with babies naturally comes with a need for more space. Babies are little tiny things, but they have a lot of stuff. They have toys and cribs and bedding and all of the stuff that comes with it. And so parents naturally are like, I need something bigger. So when we think about that, we need to think about, where are these people going to be? Where are the people with babies going to be? Now, you also have to think about this in context of your unfair advantage. If your unfair advantage is that you are also a new parent, then it's going to be really awesome for you to go in to these Parent and Me classes and start having conversations with these people. Me, who's not a new parent, might be a little weird. So I'm not going to go do that. I want to make sure I'm taking advantage of my unfair advantage, which is not babies. So you need to figure out, okay, where are these people and how do I get connected with them? There is an agent who I worked with before who previously had worked at an assisted living home. And I was like, this is a perfect opportunity for you to get, you already have relationships with these people. You're already building rapport. A lot of these people are either coming in needing to sell their home, or they've held on to it for whatever reason, and they're deciding that now it's time to be done. So figure out your unfair advantage. That's not going to be for everybody. That story is not for everybody. But what is it that is your story? What market of these can you tap into and how? And then lots of people are moving out of state. So thinking about who's moving out of state, who can we figure out who's moving and where are they going? So get connected with a good agent out of state. And then, especially in the areas where a lot of people are going, and then you can connect people to agents who are in Texas, who are in Idaho, who are in Tennessee, who are in Florida. Lots of people are leaving California for one reason or another. So we need to figure out who is moving. Now, when we figure this kind of stuff out, there are different ways that we can do this. I know that there are some companies, some title companies who are starting to rely on AI to figure out who's moving next, who's the most likely to move next, based on different algorithms and different things. Like they're saying, okay, well, these people are likely to move because on this street, 50% of the people have moved in the last 4 years, or whatever it is. They're using AI to figure out exactly who it is who's going to be moving. Now, for me, I want to be very strategic about what I'm doing and how I'm doing my marketing. And so that is a really good way for me to target people. I don't want to just target people in any neighborhood, in every neighborhood. Nobody has enough money for that. And so you need to make sure what you want to be strategic about it. Who are the people who are most likely to move out of state? One of the things you can keep track of is when one of your friends moves out of state, all of a sudden, a lot of people start talking to them about also moving out of state. So you want to connect with them and say, hey, who else do you know who's moving out of state? I know people have been talking to you about moving out of state. I would love to help sell their house and ease that transition because I work with an agent in X market, wherever it is they've moved, and I can seamlessly help this transition over there. So proactively having these conversations is where we're really going to figure out who is it who's selling and how can I help. So think about that. And this is the part that I want you to brainstorm. This is a really good nugget for you. This is what I want you to brainstorm for your own business. Who is it that you can help, that you can support, that you can figure out who would be moving and why? Now, I will say, when you talk to title and they give you the reports, they give you like the turnover rate. And what you'll find is that there's a much higher turnover. No, there's a much lower turnover rate, meaning it doesn't turn over very often in more luxury properties or in second home properties. So homes by the beach and things like that. There is a slightly higher turnover rate in single family homes, but even still, that's a longer time. But you can still see those trends and you can start marketing to those people. If we say in this neighborhood, it's about every 7 to 10 years, great. You're only targeting those people then who have been in their house for 7 to 10 years. If you start going to people if you start targeting like condos, those have a much higher turnover rate. Because now you're talking to people who might be those, they were first-time home buyers. Now they have a lot of equity in their homes and they have to move because they've outgrown it. They need a yard. They need an extra bedroom. They need a garage, whatever it is they need. Those are the kind of people who might be ready to move, and they move a lot. So whatever your strategy is going to be, figure out a strategy and implement it strategically. I guess you want to make sure that you are not just throwing money away. So it's really easy. Connect with your title person and get some of these reports. And then if you can't figure out how to read it, talk to your title person and say, hey, I heard this like inventory turnover rate. Where do I find that? How do I figure this out? Where do I send my marketing to? Remember, I'm totally getting off on a tangent, but hopefully it's valuable for you. Remember that when you go into Command and you send a postcard, like I do a monthly mailer to my farm areas, you can specify and say, I only want to send a postcard to people who have owned their house for 7 to 10 years or 7 to 15 years or whatever it is in that market where people are turning over. So you can be really specific with that. Unfortunately, right now, you can't in Command for the direct mail, you can't send to owner-occupied or like the owner's mailing address because if some of them are out of town or out of state. However, you can do that for some other mailing places and stuff. So for me, I don't care that much because I'm okay with it going to a renter and them seeing that and them saying, hey, I'm happy to use Brittany to help me move if I'm ready to buy something. So to me, it's still worth it. I'm still going to send it, but utilize Command because we have that. I do talk about that a lot. I'm not 100% sure if I will be talking about that in the next couple of weeks, but stay tuned because I'm sure something's coming. All right. That was a long tangent. Let's keep moving. So let's set ourselves up for success. What is the purpose of our listing presentation? The purpose is to find out the seller's motivation. So remember I was telling you it's all about building rapport. So we need to find out the seller's motivation. I went on a listing appointment yesterday and, let me go off on another tangent. I went on a listing appointment. It was in Beverly Hills and I had looked up some of the stats in Beverly Hills before we went. And then what was really interesting is that, we talk about how it's still a strong seller's market, especially in Southern California and yada, yada, yada. This is where we have to understand that it's super hyper local and very specific to certain markets. I have like a tickle in my throat, sorry. Because when I looked up Beverly Hills, that area and the more luxury markets, that area is actually a strong buyer's market. There was a lot of inventory. There was like a year and a half's worth of inventory. And usually what we say is that 6 months inventory means that it's a level market. Anything higher than 6 months, it's a buyer's market. Anything lower than 6 months, it's a seller's market. So this is a strong buyer's market, even in what we're talking about. Part of the reason for that is a lot of time in luxury, interest rates don't matter because a lot of the time you're dealing with cash, especially when you get into the super high end, like 10 million, 15, 20 million, you're never going to see a loan. You're looking at only cash. So keep that in mind. It's hyper local and you have to understand the ins and outs of the market. Okay. Anyway, I digress. So what I wanted to say was I talked to the seller asking him, so what's your plan here? What's your goal? Tell me your motivation. And he was telling me, I really don't know. I really don't know what I want to do. I don't feel like I need a bigger house. I don't feel like I need another house. I really just wanted to see, what my house would be worth so we could think about planning for the future. Okay, so what does this tell me? This tells me I'm not going for a hard sell. I'm not going for like, great, we need to get to work. We need to sell this tomorrow. We need to do whatever. This tells me, okay, we're going to like be a little bit casual about it. I'm still going to stay in contact with him, stay top of mind, make sure that I'm reaching out. But this is probably not going to happen in 30 days. Now, what happened, in fact, was that his wife was not there. We met his wife, but she went out. And he said he needed to talk to his wife because she was the one who was probably more antsy to leave than he was. So now we need to make sure that we're following up with the wife. And most of the time you want to make sure that the wife or the woman because a lot of times that person is the decision maker. A lot of times the wife or the woman deals with the decisions about the housing, especially when it's more emotional. So, and that is like stereotype written all over it, but it is what it is. So one of the keys in doing your buyer's presentation is finding out your seller's motivation. We also need to establish expectations. We need them to understand the process. We need them to understand what they can expect of us. We need them to understand what we expect of them. So for instance, if we're going to be doing showings regularly, then we need to tell them, we want your house to look like a model home. We want to do photos and it needs to be pristine, all of that kind of stuff. Now, you don't necessarily need to talk about that in the listing appointment, but this is where we need to establish expectations. So if we walk in and it's a hoarder's house, that's absolutely when we need to have that conversation. But if we walk in and it's pretty good, like they'll probably need their cleaner to come and fix things up and otherwise we're good to go, you really don't have to say that. So you really are judging it based on the condition of the home, based on what you're seeing. This is why when I talk about creating this listing presentation, it's all about kind of being it's like a memory jogger. Like what am I trying to say? It's like it's a conversation starter. It's not a script that you read from word for word verbatim. Because if their house is beautiful and it doesn't need staging and you have part of your listing presentation that talks about staging, you're not going to want to sit and read all about staging. You're going to want to tell them your house looks great. You don't need staging. Let's move on. So you want to make sure that you are establishing these expectations, but you're having a conversation while you're doing it. And then, of course, one of the big ones is determining a price. And we will talk about that today. Determining a price is big, and this is more of an art than a science. And so this is something that you really want to get comfortable doing. We'll jump back into the workshop in just a minute, but if you're getting value out of this, be sure to like and subscribe. And if you're interested in getting a real estate freebie, click on the link below and submit your contact info, and I'll send you out something that's guaranteed to move your business forward. In the meantime, let's jump back into the video. So let's talk about getting the appointment. And this is where we'll talk about establishing a price, because before you ever get to the appointment, you want to do a CMA and come up with a basic price or a range or some idea. Especially if you've never seen the house, you want to have a range. I always come with a range, even if I've seen the house, because if I've been to the house but not been there with these glasses on, with my real estate eyes in, then it's going to be very different than me going there and saying, okay, now I know that we're talking about selling this place. It's a very different conversation than just going over and having dinner somewhere. So, okay, I guess let's talk about it. All right, so here is an NAR stat. 80% of sellers use the first agent they meet with, so be among the first. And it also goes to speak to being top of mind, which we talk about a lot. You want to be top of mind because if you are top of mind, you're going to be the favorite. In one of the books I talk about a lot, The Full Fee Agent, by Chris Voss and Steve Scholl, I think that's his name. They talk about being the favorite or the fool. And I love this because I always want to know where I stand. I always want to know how much effort am I putting forth. That's one of the reasons we talk about find out the motivation, because that tells me how to direct the conversation. So if I am the favorite, then it's not that big of a deal for me to be a little bit like more nonchalant about it and have more of a conversation than that. If I am not the favorite, it is 10,000 times more important for me to get in first. However, if I'm not the favorite, then no matter when I get in there, I'm probably not going to be chosen, because they likely already have a favorite and they're just calling you to do their due diligence. So it's always good to know, am I the favorite or am I the fool? It helps to tell you and inform your decision-making process, because 80% of sellers use a first agent they meet with. So I need to either be there right away, or if I'm the favorite, we can be a little more relaxed about this. And even if you know you're the favorite or think you're the favorite, you don't want to be too relaxed. You don't want to let this opportunity slip you by because somebody else came in there and they swooped in because they were that 20%. So make sure that you are top of mind and that you jump on these opportunities. This is crazy to me. 58, a majority of sellers spend less than 3 hours researching. So again, top of mind. So what a lot of people do, I know, is they go into their Facebook mommy groups and they say, hey, we're thinking about selling our house. Anyone have a good agent that they've worked with? You need to be top of mind. If you are not one of the first people that they mention, you're not even getting a call. And so you need to be top of mind. These people are not necessarily going through your website, reading your bios, figuring out who you are, talking about who the experts are. They're going to their friends and they're saying, who do you know? And so that's why you need to be top of mind, because it's not just your SOI, it's their SOI. Keep that in mind. People are not researching. They're not digging deep and figuring out who you are and that you're so experienced and knowledgeable and all this stuff. No, they don't know, which can be a good thing for you. Because if you are feeling like, oh, I don't know what I should know, now it's okay. Because if you're coming in as a referral from a friend, you're going to be the favorite over me, who might know a little bit more, but because I'm not a referral from their friend, I'm the fool. They're just bringing me in so that they can say that they interviewed more than one agent, which most people don't, by the way. All right, so we talk about this pre-listing questionnaire. I can send you one on my YouTube channel. I'll have it as a link in the description. If you want it, you can send me an email to ask me about this, but they have these everywhere. Some type of pre-listing questionnaire. The idea is that a lot of people think that this is the listing presentation. It is not. Next week, we're going to do our buyers, the same kind of thing with our buyers presentations. It's the same thing. A lot of people do the buyer questionnaire and they think that is a buyer presentation. It is not. Remember, when we do the pre-listing when we do the listing consultation, it's a consultation. We are proving ourselves as experts and we are the advisor. This is a list of questions. So I always use the analogy. This is like if we go to the doctor and we fill out all the forms, we hand it to them and then they say, okay, thanks. We'll see you in 6 months. And you're like, what? I didn't even see the doctor. I didn't do anything. I just told you about me. So we need to make sure that we're still providing value. So, of course, a lot of this helps with the motivation. A lot of this helps with understanding, a lot before we even get in there. But the goal of this is to get to the appointment, get to the meeting. So we're asking, what's your motivation to move to wherever you're moving? Oh, I want to be by the beach. I'm done with this heat. I just want to get out. Okay, so how soon do you want to be there? definitely before summer ends because I want to take advantage of being at the beach. Okay, so if we sell your home in the next 30 days, would that pose a problem for you? Absolutely not. I want to get out as soon as possible. Okay, great. What would happen if your home didn't sell? Well, I'd be really bummed, but I guess it's not the end of the world. That tells us something. Now that tells us they're super motivated, but it's really kind of an emotional thing. And so if it didn't sell, they'd be like, we want to move, but if we couldn't, it's no big deal. Okay, so now that's on us. We're really motivated to get them to sell within 30 days or within whatever time frame it is. And you can see all of these questions lead to down at the bottom. Do you have any questions before we meet? Because the meeting is where we're headed to. So this is a 10, 15-minute conversation over the phone before we schedule or when we schedule our actual listing consultation. So keep that in mind that these pre-listing questionnaires that you can find all over the internet and wherever you want to find them are great and they're actually very helpful and you should get to know them, but they are not a substitute for your listing consultation. All right, so let's talk about establishing a price, your CMA, otherwise known as comparative market analysis, otherwise known as your comps. So in establishing a price, we're going to talk about, we want to talk about check what the buyers have been rejecting, meaning what is still on the market currently? How long has it been on the market? If something's been on the market for 35 days, that's a long time in this market, in most markets. And so we want to see, okay, what's wrong with this? Is it priced too high? Are the pictures really bad? Is it a bad floor plan, not a great area? What is the problem with this that it's not selling? So what have the buyers been rejecting and how does that compare to your subject property? Then we're going to talk about price low to sell fast. So depending on your client's motivation, you want to price it accordingly. So for your seller who is looking to get out quick, who's saying, I want to be by the beach. I want to make sure that I'm done here. I'm sick of the heat. It's too hot. I want to get to the beach. Great. We want to sell fast. And especially they're saying, I don't care about the price. I'm going to sell this place and buy something by the beach for, whatever, $20 million. And who cares what the price is? Okay, great. When we're talking about that, we definitely want to price it low to sell it really quickly. What happens when we price it low, though, is we get a bidding war going. And that's what we're looking for. We're looking for the buyers to be outbidding each other. And so oftentimes when we price it low, it's also going to be that bidding war. Excuse me. Woo, excuse me. It's also going to be that bidding war that's going to get those higher prices. So it's going to sell for fast and it's going to sell for high. Anytime I have clients who are like, well, why would I do that? Because if I was buying a piece of fruit at the farmer's market, they start high and then I offer lower. And I say, yes, but that is not the same thing as real estate. Think about something that's been sitting on the market for a long time. Do you think that you should offer more than what it's listed at or less? Everybody understands that you should offer less because it's been sitting there for a long time. They're going to be more motivated. They probably just want to get this thing sold. Maybe that it's fallen out of escrow and they just want to get it under contract again. Whatever it is, people understand, they understand that concept of like, if you see something that it has been on the market for a long time, you would not offer higher, would you? No, I wouldn't. Of course not. So what we want to do is, what we want to avoid is pricing too high, because then we're just going to have to lower it, and then we're chasing the market down. That's what we want to avoid. So I'm going to show you two different things. I'm going to show you through my MLS, and keep in mind it's my MLS. It's going to be different than yours, but the idea is the same. And then I'm going to show you through Cloud CMA. A lot of you guys have Cloud CMA, have access to it. You also probably have RPR, which is a similar thing. You really just want to find something that you like, you understand, that fits you and your brand, because RPR, for instance, is much more analytical. That's not me. That's not my brand. Somebody who wants to work with me is probably going to appreciate something different. They're not necessarily going to appreciate that. So it's just whatever works for you. So I'm going to go to quick search right now. And I'm just going to let's go to this area in Camarillo. So of course, when you're doing this, you're going to have a subject property and you're already going to know what that subject property is. So I'm going to go to an area that I know fairly well. So the downfall of working like this is that you have to know the map area. So if you're going into an area that you don't know as well, it's a lot more cumbersome. It's just more difficult and it's annoying. Okay, so I don't love this. I do use it and I will work with it, but it's not my favorite. Okay, so what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna draw an area. I'm gonna draw around an area. Now you can see that I'm locating like a really small neighborhood. Okay, see, it doesn't even show up on the map. And then my MLS likes to freak out sometimes. But this is a really small area. So I want to look at a couple of different things. First off, I want to look at what have houses sold for in this teeny tiny little neighborhood. And that's where I want to come up with my first initial price point. And then what I want to do, this is in the city of Camarillo. So then I want to go to the whole city of Camarillo. And once I figure out, okay, what is the basic price point of this? Now I want to see, okay, what is currently on the market in the whole city of Camarillo for this price? So what is it that the buyers are going to be looking at? Because the buyers, sometimes this happens, but very rarely are the buyers going to be looking at this one teeny tiny little community. Much more often, they're going to be looking at the whole city. So what we want to do is I want to first go to property subtype. I'm just going to make this up. We're going to say it's a single family. So now again, yours is going to look different than mine. And so you're going to change it based on your specifications, based on your MLS. I'm just giving you a brief overview. Okay, so I'm going to say, let's say it needs to be 3 bedrooms, a minimum and maximum, because I want it to be exactly what I'm looking for. 3 bedrooms, 2 baths, and I'm going to really leave it at that. And what I want to do is I want to look at coming soon and active, and I want to look at active under contract, pending, and closed. I want to see everything that's on the market in here, including what has closed. Remember, when appraisers come to figure out how much it's going to appraise for, they are looking at what has closed. They're not looking at what is currently active. They're only looking at what is closed. And now this is saying it's going back a year. Is this saying it has nothing? Oh my gosh, hold on. Maybe I need to change this or change this, make it a little less fixed. It's not finding anything. Well, that's weird. Okay, there we go. I just need to zoom in more, I guess. So I can see there have only been 3 things that have sold here. So when I'm looking to price it, that might be a little bit challenging. So what I want to do is I want to look at the list and I want to see. Okay, so this one, 830, and it was 36 days on the market. This one is currently active under contract for 850. Well, actually, we don't know what it's under contract for. I could call and find out, but sometimes they're not going to tell us. This was on the market for 131 days. It probably fell out of escrow, but if not, remember, I'm not paying $850 for something that's been on the, that's the highest thing in this complex. I'm not paying that. So it's important to understand, why has something been on the market for that long? Because right now, this price doesn't seem to be justified. Then we have this 800,000 that was closed. It was 28 days on the market. This 749 was 49 days on the market. These actually seem, in my opinion, like high days on the market for this area. And so my mom lives in this area, so I know it fairly well. So then if I want to go in and look at it, I can see the pictures. I can see the condition. This looks like it's in pretty good condition. Let's look at the pictures for this one. Remember, this is the high-priced one. And it's pretty original. I'm not blown away. I'm surprised that it's this price. I wonder if it's under contract for lower. Then we have the next one. This one has some upgrades, but nothing spectacular. So this one has also some upgrades. So this is where we're just going in and saying, how does this compare to our subject property? So we can do a couple of different things. We can go CMA. I can do a one-line CMA. So if I click on that, this one-line CMA is going to show me, it's going to show me the averages. Well, it might. Let's see. It's taking a while. There we go. Okay. So the average days on market was 61. The average list price was $824. The average, so this is the original list price. This is the list price because they lowered it. And then the average close price is $793. So if I'm looking at this and I say, okay, my subject property has a lot more additions to it. Like it's really in great condition. It's really a nice place. Well, it probably would be, this $793 is probably too low, but it's a good starting point. So if we say that it's $793, so the sold price, we have $830, $800, and $749. So probably we could start around $800, right? So now if I go back and let's see, I'm going to go back to edit my search. Now I'm going to remove this polygon. I'm going to remove the shape and I'm going to say that it's just in the city of Camarillo. So in the whole city of Camarillo, now we're looking at all of these. Now I don't want to see the things that have closed. Okay, hello. I only want to see coming soon and active. Maybe I want to see active under contract if I don't get a lot, but you can see there's a good amount of stuff here. But what I want to do is I want to narrow down the price point. Where's the price? Here we go, current price. I want to narrow this down and I want to say between, let's say $780 and $850, because I think that ours will probably go around that range. So now we only have two. So now we can look to see, okay, how does the place that we're looking up stack up against these other places that are in these areas? So now, oops, let's look at the pictures. So I'm looking at the condition. Okay, so this is nice. It has great curb appeal. Looks like it has updated flooring, updated kitchen, although it's kind of funky. Not my style, but it is updated. You can see that they've updated the handles throughout, it looks like, but the bathroom looks original. This tile, I can see like mold on it from here, so that's not updated. But in general, it looks like it's in good shape. This backyard is redone. It looks really nice. Okay. So it's a pretty good comp to my property, my subject property. Now we look at this one and I'm just doing a quick look. So this one is definitely not as good of shape. However, I'm going to look at it and I'm going to look closer to see, well, tell me what the deal is. Well, first off, it has 4 bedrooms instead of 3. It's been on the market for 23 days. So probably it is a little bit high, probably just a little bit though. But it is contingent on a 1031 exchange and concurrent close on seller's home of choice, which means that basically the seller is needing somebody to really work with them. So what that tells me is that they're going to need to bring somebody in and they might, like whoever they get under contract with, might be able to offer lower because they need to have so many things that are like seamless. They need to be willing to participate in the 1031 exchange, which means they're the seller has to identify something else within a certain time period, and then they need to do a concurrent close, which means yours closes and then the next one closes. So it just is kind of a domino effect. So there are a lot of things that need to be worked out. So it is a much more limited pool of buyers. Anyway, all this tells me, remember, we're thinking in like the 800, 820 range. So these are 839 and 849. Now, the other thing that I want to do is I'm going to click CMA again, and I'm going to go to Cloud CMA. Remember, I told you Cloud CMA is the thing that I like. It's the program that I like to use. And I'm just going to show you real quick because I feel like it's a super shortcut. And I am just going to pull an address from one of these. 573 Paseo Lunar. Okay. 573 Paseo Lunar. Okay. So it's going to pop up automatically for me. It tells me it automatically pulls these records from county records. So everything looks good. I'm just going to click on this automatically find listings. And then I'm going to say fetch listings. And what I want to do is I want to look to see how does this compare to what I just looked at, to what I just saw. So remember, what we just saw was around the 750 or I guess a little bit higher. The average was 793. Okay. But if you'll notice, you can see this map. This is the little complex. All of this is outside of that complex. So even if like this $800,000 one, this is probably not really a good comp, but it might be because it still is in the area that we want it to be in general, like this part of Camarillo. So let's take a look. Right now you can see the summary. The low is 625, which that's probably way too low. I'll probably get rid of that one. Median is 731, average is 626, and the high is 820. I feel like this average is pretty low. So I want to see what's bringing down the averages. So I already know that this green glade, because I know the area, I know that this green glade, these are single family homes, but they are attached. So they always are going to be lower price points than the ones we want. So I'm going to say, don't count that as a comparison. This green lawn, same, don't count that as a comparison. Now Barcelona, let's take a look at that. I'm clicking on notes and adjustments, and then it tells us all of this stuff that we need to know. The list date, the sold date, the list price was $768,900. The sold price was $768, so it went down by $900, which is interesting, but maybe just a concession that they did. So now I'm looking at it, definitely original, definitely a fixer. This is not a good comparison to my subject property because remember I said that mine was fixed up. So we're gonna take that one out. So you can see the averages change as we take things out and as we say, no, that's not a good comp. I'm gonna go to this other 600 because I'm guessing this is a 2-bed, 2-bath. So I'm gonna take this one out. Okay. So now we have these averages. Now, of course, if I was really doing this, I would really be looking to be like, okay, what are all these? This one is also probably not a good comp. I'll take this one out. But anyway, I'm going to be looking to see like, okay, what do we have? What do we see? Blah, blah, blah. Now, once I figure out which ones I'm going to add and include, I'm going to say customize report. Bless you. And then you're going to see mine is going to look different than yours because when yours first pops up, it's going to have a ton of stuff here. If anything you don't want, you just click on this little minus sign and it'll take it away. Anything you want to add is going to be over here and you just add stuff here. This little eyeball means that you can take a look at it. So this is a summary. So for those people who want to look at things in a line, who want to see the averages and just quick and easy, we have this here. It's also all branded to you. Then you can also see the averages, which I like to see. So we see that the averages of the solds are 787, which is similar to what we found, but we actually saw it skewed a little bit higher. And then it goes into more of the listings and what they were. So then it tells us the sold property analysis, which it says the averages are 99.98% of list price, meaning they were listed for a certain number. They sold for 99% of that. So that for sure tells me that I want to list it a little bit lower. Okay. Again, you can decide if you want that or not. If you didn't want that, you would just click on this little minus sign. And then the suggested list price. I like this because I can edit it. And I like to use a price range because, like I said, if I'm assuming, like if they're telling me, oh yeah, it's been updated, it looks great, it's totally renovated, and then I walk in and I'm like, this has been upgraded, but it's hideous, or it's very custom and it's not what the masses want, I'm gonna go lower on that price range. But if I say, wow, this is way better than I was expecting, then I'm gonna go higher. So right now for my price range, I'm gonna say, we'll say $795 to $850. And then we won't worry about the net proceeds and all of that, but then we have this suggested list price. So I can bring this in. It's going to tell the the price per square foot. It says the comps, blah, blah, blah. So, and then it's branded to me again. So I really like to have this as a supplement to my listing presentation, because as we'll see, we're going to jump into command and I'm going to show you what I would do for my listing presentation. It is different. Well, it's not different. Well, let me just hold off on that. Okay. So we talked about establishing a price. When we're thinking of this, if our person is wanting to sell fast, we're going to price it low. And we also want to check and see what is currently listed and what's taking a long time to sell, because those are probably priced a little bit too high. Or again, they could have some other issue. Maybe it's the pictures. Maybe the listing description is like, come see this 4-bedroom, 2-bathroom house, the end. It's not generating any kind of excitement or curiosity or wanting to come in and see it. So there's a lot that we can see in looking at what have the buyers been rejecting. All right, now let's talk about command your listing. We are going to create your listing presentation. We are not going to have time to create the checklists in command, although I talk all the time about how great this is, and I want you to do it. And again, I will add, I'll send out an email after this with links to these things that I'm talking about. So the checklist that I have, basically what you do is you have the checklist and then you import it into command. So you're going to write in your opportunities as checklists. And I talk more about this in other videos, so be sure to find those because this is a game changer. So let's go and create our listing presentation. What I have here is I am in designs. Okay, this little thing is not wanting me to, go away. Okay, so I'm in designs. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to say create a design. And I always default to print, even if I'm not necessarily going to print it. It doesn't really matter. It just, got to sign in. But it doesn't really matter if we do print or digital or whatever. It just brings up different templates, but we can always find still what we're looking for. So we have these auto creates, which are pretty cool because you just basically put in your listing and it generates all this stuff for you. That's not what we're talking about today, but I do want to draw your attention to that. What we're going to do is we go down here to listings and we're going to do a listing presentation. So these are essentially all the same. We're just choosing the one that we like the best. So whatever you like the best, just click on it. I'm just going to click on a random one and say use. But you see this My Assets. If you go back to the home page, there is a section that says My Assets, and you're able to put in your information, your logos. You're able to put in all kinds of stuff that is for you. And so I highly, highly, highly recommend that to do first, because that will make the rest of this so much easier. So when we go to our listing presentation, down at the bottom right it says pages, and it says 29 pages. That is entirely too long. You do not need a 29-page listing presentation. Nobody's going to read through 29 pages. So what we're going to do is we're going to go through, and for the pages that we don't want, we're just going to click these 3 buttons and say delete. I already know that, like this instructions page, this is just telling me how to create this listing presentation. Great. Once we read it, we can delete it. If we accidentally delete something and we're like, oh, whoops, we can go to this template up here and we can just find the one that we are using, and we can add it back in. So let's see. These are all open house templates. Here we go. Home ownership guide. So if I click on this, oh, that's actually wrong, but you can see all of these pages and I can just click them back in, and it goes to where it is. Now I don't want that, so I'm going to remove it, but it's really easy to just bring stuff in if you accidentally delete it. So this is like a table of contents. I don't want it to be long enough that it needs a table of contents, so I'm going to delete this. This is basically a second title page, and so actually that's wrong. I deleted the title page. That's okay. Like I said, if I want like this, here's a title page. I can add in this title page back in because I accidentally deleted it. So you see how it says client name. I don't want to come in and change this every time. So I am going to change this to, if you type right here, click right here for the typewriter, I'm going to change this to something like listing consultation, or something like that. Because basically what we're saying is, and we can take this out, a custom listing, a custom consultation prepared for blah, blah, blah. Taking that out. So boom, we just changed it, and now it is for everybody. Now this image is a fine image, but if we wanted to change it, what we can go to is this image icon, and we can go to workspace. Don't go to stock because a lot of these cost money and you don't need it. This workspace, these are all licensed to KW. So you can use all of these as they're all licensed. All these photos are licensed to you. So you can go to home interiors and you can find cool ones that you like. You can go to home exteriors, or where are they? Lifestyle. Oh, here we go. House exteriors. Like if you wanted to do this one. Now, since we're clicked on it already, you can see this little swap button. You just swap it out. Boom. Ready to go. Then this picture, this is not me. So I want to go to my assets and swap that one out too. So I'm going to swap it. And now it puts it into the same format and image and the size. If I just clicked on it, it would just go in and I'd have to edit it, which I could, but I don't want to because it already has this in here how I want it to be. Then you put in here, you change your name, your website, all of this information. This Keller Williams DBA, as soon as I click on it, you see it goes to logos. And I have my assets. I have my KW stuff in here, so I'm just going to swap it out. This is why I tell you, be sure to put your assets first because it makes it really easy to change up all this stuff. This is a logo, so I'm just going to add my logo in. And you also need to make sure you add your DRE number because for some reason that's not on here. So you just easily add your DRE number, blah, blah, blah. There you go. So now that's done. And there are very few pages that you have to edit. Hold on. Let me just do this so that I'm not. Okay. So now you can see, done, super easy. You can change these colors if the red isn't for you. Change these colors to what you want it to be. And then we start going down the pages. Now, any of the pages that are going to be specific to a property, specific to a client, specific to a seller or anything, I'm going to remove because I don't want anything specific. I want this to be static. And remember, I use Cloud CMA to bring anything that is going to be specific to their house. That's what I bring as a printout for them to keep. This I'm going to bring as a digital copy, or I'll bring it if I'm going to like a rural area where they might not have Wi-Fi or it's cumbersome or whatever. I'll have like a hard copy, but it's for me to keep. And then I tell them you'll get a copy of this after. So anyway, I'm not going to have anything about their house or anything like this. Now, just so you guys know, these are called snapshots. So if we go to KWLS over here, this is like the KWMLS. We go to snapshots. You can either search by neighborhood name or search by postal code. I like to search by postal code just because you get more information. The neighborhood names are really tiny, and you might not get good info. So I'm going to do Camarillo because that's the subject property we were doing. Remember, I'm not going to add this in because I don't want to, because I don't want to have to change this out every time. However, look how easy that was to change. If you wanted to use this as a social media post, you could use something like this and post it on your social media and do it once a month, once a week, whatever your market update is, and talk about it. What does this mean? What does average days on market mean? Yada, yada, yada. Okay, I'm not going to use this, so I'm going to delete that. Yes, delete. Again, these comparable properties, I'm going to bring that separately, so I'm going to delete that. Remember, what I'm looking for with this is I'm looking to talk about the process, the expectations. We're talking about their motivation, but we've really already gotten to that. So this kind of stuff, your needs come first. I don't need that in there, so we can delete that. Unless, of course, you want that in there. The process, this is what I really like. Okay, I think this one I had already used, so I had already deleted some of this stuff. But you can see that there's the process here because this is what I think is very important. So I want to make sure that I keep this page, if it was complete, I keep this page in there. Then we talk about your custom marketing plan. Some of this I think is helpful. I don't think all of it is, so I would take out a bunch of it. I like this page because it talks about what you're going to offer. You just need to make sure you offer what you say you're going to offer. But all of these things you can do in KW command. Strategic promotion. Again, you can delete all of these pages, but as you see, all of these pages, you don't have to edit. You can just add it, delete it, whatever. You're not changing anything until you get to some of these pages. So this type of page, this is a testimonial page. If you have any kind of testimonials, any kind of reviews, anything, I would definitely add it in. If not, take it out. Don't worry about it until you get those. And then you should have something like this, in my opinion. Again, this is not something you have to change all the time. This is something that you could update maybe once a year if you wanted to. You don't have to change it for every single client. So again, we're just like this, selling safely. This is talking about COVID stuff. You don't need to have that in there. And then at the bottom is a contact me page. Here's how you can get in touch. This is another place where you would add in your contact information. So you need to make sure that you're editing this, but everything else is really done for you. Then once you're done with it, you just go to download. Now you have it as a PDF. You can print it out. You can send it in an email. You can do all kinds of stuff with it. But that's really it. That's the basics of creating your listing presentation. So you've got it. Real quick. I want to show you real quick because we're already over. So thank you for holding on with me. Let me show you in opportunities. I'm just going to give you a brief sampling. We have, Okay, so I'm showing you, no, I did want to click on that. You can see down here, I'm in opportunities and I'm in a listing, and this says, this is your checklist, and it says 9 out of 10. So now I'm seeing what has been checked off. What are the things? I've had to add these things in. And so I add them in You can add them by going here, stages and checklists. So again, I'm going to send out an email that has the links to all of these things. The checklist, the other thing that I said I would give you, I'll figure it out. But I'll send you an email with all this stuff, but I'm not going to go over it because we're already past time. Thank you guys for hanging out with me. All right. So what is important now? Practice. Don't practice on your clients. Role play and know your talk tracks. This, I'm going to sound like a broken record because practice. Pull sample CMAs for every house in your area, just like we did just now. Pull those practice CMAs and practice them. Pull them and figure out why do you think this house has been sitting on the market too long? Do you think it's priced too high? Run a full CMA for that neighborhood, for that area, for that city, and figure out what do you think the right price would be. And then track it to see what does it actually close for. Because remember, a house is worth what a buyer is willing to pay for it. So if it's listed for $800,000 and a buyer pays $1.5 million for it, it's worth $1.5 million. But if it's listed at $800,000 and a buyer pays $600,000 for it, it's worth $600,000. Practice. Create a listing presentation today and review it in the mirror or with a friend. Getting comfortable and confident is going to be key with your listing presentations. It is really, really important to have this ready to go so that when you do get that call saying, hey, I'm ready to sell, that's not something you have to work on. That's already done. Now all you need to do is focus on figuring out what the price for this property is, running your CMA and doing that. But you want to know exactly what you're doing. You want to have this set and you want to be practiced and you want it to be perfect. And again, we want you to be scheduling an appointment every single week. So make sure, So make sure that you're scheduling that appointment every week and doing these practice listing appointments. So even if it's a practice, we want you to still be doing that. Make sure that you're practicing. And then your bonus, my favorite resources, the MREA book, Millionaire Real Estate Agent, has lots and lots of good content, especially about listings. Command checklists. We didn't get into it, but it's super, super helpful. It is a lifesaver. I am a checklist person because I don't want to keep everything in my brain, nor should we. So make sure that you get a good handle on your command checklists. Cloud CMA, love it. Literally, I use it for every single listing appointment I go on. And then I talked about the book, The Full Fee Agent by Chris Voss and Steve Schultz. So make sure you're checking that one out. And then next week, we're talking about mastering your buyer consultation, expert tips and tricks. And be sure to follow my real estate YouTube channel, Real Estate Made Easy with Brittany. It has all of these past workshops. And remember, we are going to be announcing some big stuff in the next couple weeks. And so make sure that you're following along because it's going to be really helpful, especially for you guys. All right, let me look in the chat. Oh yes, the questionnaire. That was one of the things I will send. How far are you going back for solds? Adina, you said you usually do 90 days. It really depends. If you can't find anything that is a good comp, then you want to go longer. So 90 days is good. Usually that's when an appraiser is going to go back, but you want to go longer. You know, if you want to go longer, you want to, if you can't find a good comp or you can't find a lot of them, then you go back as far as you need. It's better to go back in time than to expand your search because an appraiser is not necessarily going to want to expand the search because so much depends on the actual location. So it just depends. But yes, if you can't find the good comps, the best comps are going to be within 90 days and within like a couple of block radius. But if you need to expand it to about a 1 mile radius, or if you need to go back 6 months or a year, you can do that too. For a listing appointment, so the question is, where should you meet for your listing appointment? For a listing appointment, I always try and do it in the home, just because one of the main prices of doing the listing appointment is establishing the price. Is that did I say that right? Yeah, it's establishing the price. And so you can't really do that if you're not at the house, if you don't see the house. So if it's impossible, if it's a renter, if it's something that, doesn't work out, that's okay. You can do it somewhere else. But ideally, I want to be at the house. Even if we just take a look and then go meet at a Starbucks or something like that, I want to see the house. Well, I hope that helped. And remember, you're invited to join me live every Monday at 11:30 a.m. Pacific Standard Time, where I will talk about topics that will move your business forward, and you can be there in real time asking your questions and getting them answered live. So join me in registering at the link in the description. And remember to like and subscribe so you get more videos just like this as soon as they come out. We'll see you in the next video.